Launch control, this is Houston. We are go for launch.
Hold on to your lug nuts. It's time for an overhaul.
Turn it up, son.
I'm your huckleberry.
I don't give jobs, I hire men. You won't give me anything, and I won't give you anything.
Collision, sir.
Whoa, relax. We're not even moving.
There's no crying in baseball.
We are News New Mexico. It's Tuesday, March 13th, 2012. I'm Michael Swicker. We have Rachel Pulaski here. On our Newsmaker line, we've got Marita Noon. She has Energy Makes America Great
.org.
Don't do com, do org. Marita, I really can't tell by the lights whether the energy I have comes from coal or natural gas or a band of hamsters running a little treadmill out there. But you can tell about coal because of something called cost.
Yes, coal is the least cost form of electricity generation. And you're right, the kilowatts do not know their DNA. They don't know what they came from. Electricity is electricity. However, one kind does cost less than any of the other kinds, and that is coal. Yet somehow in America today, the president, the administration, particularly Lisa Jackson and the EPA, are doing everything they can to kill this most cost-effective form of electricity.
But of course, anytime coal is within 100 miles of you, you're about to die because coal is so toxic, isn't it?
Well, no, of course not. Now, it is true that back, in the 70s, 50 years ago, when many of the coal plants were built, that, and I realize the 70s was not 50 years ago, but back before we were aware of the damage that we were doing to the environment, and we did a lot of things to clean it up, coal was emitting a lot of particulate matter and a lot of other things, other emissions that could be damaging to health. But those things have been largely cleaned up, and coal is much cleaner now than it has ever been before. And in fact, in China, when you hear the statistics quoted that China is building a new coal-fired power plant every week, that is true. But sadly, what they're building in China today is cleaner than anything that we have in America because it's so difficult to build a new coal-fueled power plant, even though they would be still cheaper than other forms of electricity generation.
Well, one of the real problems is there is a fight between nuclear power and coal. That coal noticed that they lost about 20% of their business when nuclear came online 40 years ago. And so even the energy companies themselves do a little scuffling, don't they, if we can talk out of school?
Well, yes, but the reality is in this country we can't build either. Now, I mean, it's true there was news this week coming out about a new coal-fired power plant being built in Illinois, but there's also the Sierra Club, their executive director, has penned a post on their website that they are bragging about how their efforts have now shut down 100 coal-fueled power plants and blocked 166 new ones from being built. Now realize that most of these power plants employ hundreds of people. So if you were to, let's just say there's 200 people at each power plant, which is a low number, and you figure if these 166 new power plants had been built, how many jobs would that be?
Yeah.
Not to mention the construction jobs, which are largely union jobs.
Well, again, who was that said this?
This is Michael Brune, the executive director of the Sierra Club.
Okay, so what people need to do is write the word the Sierra Club, and when their power goes off, because we have rolling blackouts, call those guys and say, hey, get us some power. Yeah,
they better Michael Brune better be running in one of those treadmills that creates the electricity.
Absolutely, because ultimately, now, people who have traveled to Beijing, have you been to China?
I have not been to China, no.
If you go to China, one of the things you'll notice is their air is putrid, capital P, capital U, capital TRID, putrid, especially around Beijing. because they've got the worst air in the, if not maybe in India. Those guys, they know how to make bad air. We don't have bad air in the United States. You have some people say, I think I saw something coming out of a stove top or a chimney here. No. You got to Beijing. When they had the Olympics, they had to shut that whole region down for 2 months ahead of time to get the air just under the quality threshold, or the athletes wouldn't have come.
I have a girlfriend who lived in China for 6 months just recently. She just got back last month, and certainly told me all the stories about how awful it is there. And, when you, as you're saying, when you look at that and you look at America, you go, wow, we have really, 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 really cleaned things up in America. And, back in the 70s, as I was saying, we were doing some things that needed to be cleaned up, but we have cleaned them up. And by the EPA shutting down these coal-fired power plants, and here in New Mexico, as I address in my current column, here in New Mexico, we have a current issue with this. A lot of our electricity in New Mexico is provided by coal, the vast majority of it in New Mexico, because we have a lot of coal in New Mexico, and we are amazingly blessed here because we have the coal mine and the coal-fired power plants are sitting right next to each other.
So there's no transportation.
Energy.
So there's no transportation between the coal and the plant. That cuts again the price down right there.
Right. However, PNM, the major utility provider of New Mexico, is going to have to, according to the EPA regulations, they're probably going to have to close down 2 of their 4 units at the San Juan Generating Station, and Arizona Public Service Company, who runs the Four Corners power plant, has already announced that they are closing 3 of the 5 plants there. So between those 2 power plants that are sitting there in Farmington, they have 9 coal-fired units. And due to EPA regulations, 5 of the 9 units are going to be shut down. Now, that's going to cut our energy capacity, our generation, cut it by more than half.
Marita Noon, we're going to talk more with her when we come back. She has a column on energy cost misdirection. We'll have more with her coming right back.
I'd rather she hate me and thought I was good looking.
No. We want to get along here. We are News New Mexico. We've got Rachel Plask here. I'm Michael Swicker talking with Marita Noon, EnergyMakesAmericaGreat.org. She has a column, an energy cost misdirection. So, Marita, how much does it bother people that what's happening may make their house go dark?
Well, the problem is that few people realize that. And this is why I labeled the column or titled the column Energy Cost Misdirection. Because these impacts, the impacts of the power plants closing, are not yet directly being felt in our electricity bills. It will happen after the power plants close. The utilities go to their local regulatory bodies. Here in the state of New Mexico, it's the PRC, the Public Regulatory Commission, and request the rate increase. So we're not going to feel it immediately. But and one of the reasons people are not really paying attention to this, which is why I wrote the column and why I appreciate being on the air with you so we can draw attention to this, is what's happening right now in the energy discussion in the public is gas prices. Everyone is talking about gas prices naturally because it's right here, right now, right in front of us. And the thing is that the president is somewhat correct when he sends Jay Carney out there on the press conferences saying, there's not much we can do about the price of gasoline because, frankly, a lot of what's being driven, the gas prices right now, are largely being driven by the crazy talk coming out of Iran. And, the president can't really control that, although there are some things that could be done there. But so the president can it's kind of I call it a misdirection because it's kind of, look here where the president, not that I'm the president, but where the president can say, I can't do much about this. But meanwhile, while we're all talking about gasoline prices, what's going on over here is the electricity costs are going to skyrocket, as President Obama said during the 2008 election cycle. He said that the price of electricity is necessarily going to skyrocket.
Because we got to close down the coal plants. That's what he was saying in 2008.
Right, and that is exactly what he's doing as he promised. But the thing is that this price increase in electricity costs is something that is 100% driven by the president's policy. He could do something about that. He could tell Lisa Jackson, hey, cool it. We're in a bad economy. People are hurting. Energy costs are rising. We have got to stop this craziness. He could tell Lisa Jackson that. But no, he's not likely to tell her that without extreme public pressure. And we've seen that on rare cases, the president has, as he likes to call it, pivoted on his policy due to public outcry. And the public really has got, we ratepayers, we citizens, have got to provide pushback for this alarming rate of power plant closures that are going to raise prices, raise energy rates, kill jobs, and put the power at risk, put the electricity
one more thing, Marita, because we're running out of time, which is, if you think it's bad right now what the president's doing, if he gets reelected,
yeah, scary,
I mean, he's doing this right before the election to the ratepayers. Wait till you see what he does after he gets reelected, if he does. Woof.
Amen.
All right,
very
Marita.
Scary. This is why the 2012 election is so important to energy.
Marita Noon, EnergyMakesAmericaGreat.org. Thank you so much for what you do, Marita.
Appreciate the time. Thank you.
Okay, you can read her columns in townhall.com. You can also see them on News New Mexico. We have it posted there.